Jayom Vishnupad Paramhansa Paribrajakacharya Astotara Satashi Shrimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adigor Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinatha Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2, Text 30. Ata adyantikam kshemam prichamo bhavato nagaha samsaresmin kshanardhopi satsanga sevadir nrinam ata adyantikam kshemam prichamo bhavato nagaha samsaresmin kshanardopi satsanga sevadir nrinam atha atyantikam kshemam prichamo bhavato nagaha samsaresmin kshanardopi satsanga sevadir nrinam. Mataji's? Ataha, therefore, Atyantikam, supreme, kshemam, good, Prichamaha, I am asking, Bhavataha, from you, Anagaha, O sinless ones, Samsare, in the cycle of birth and death, Asmin, this, Kshana Ardaha, lasting only half of one moment, Api, even, Satsangaha, the association of devotees of the Lord, Shevadhi, a great treasure, Nuninam, for human beings. Translation. Therefore, O completely sinless ones, I ask you to kindly tell me what is the supreme good, what the supreme good is. After all, even half a moment's association with pure devotees within this world of birth and death is a priceless treasure for any man. We can repeat together. Therefore, O completely sinless ones, I ask you to kindly tell me what the supreme good is. After all, even half a moment's association with pure devotees within this world of birth and death is a priceless treasure for any man. Purport. The word Shevadihi, or a great treasure, is significant in this verse. Just as an ordinary man is overjoyed to discover an unexpected treasure, one who is actually intelligent is overjoyed to gain the association of a pure devotee of the Lord, by which one's life can easily be perfected. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the words Atyantikam Kshemam, or the supreme good, indicate that situation in which one cannot be touched by even the slightest fear. Now we are entangled in the cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death, samsare. Because our entire situation can be devastated in a single moment, we are constantly in fear. But the pure devotees of the Lord can teach us the practical way to free ourselves from material existence and thus to abolish all types of fear. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, normal etiquette would dictate that a host immediately ask a guest who has arrived about his well-being. But such an inquiry is unsuitable to place before self-satisfied devotees of the Lord, who are themselves the bestowers of all well-being. According to Srila Vishwanath, the king knew that it would be useless to ask the sages about their business affairs, since the only business of the pure devotees of the Lord is the achievement of the supreme goal of life. According to Bhagavad Gita, the goal of life is to free oneself from the cycle of birth and death and reinstate oneself as an eternal servant of God on the platform of spiritual bliss. Pure devotees of the Lord do not waste their time with ordinary mundane affairs. Sometimes foolish relatives of a Vaishnava preacher lament that such a transcendental preacher has not used his life for material business, and that so much money has therefore been lost by the practice of spiritual life. Such ignorant persons cannot imagine the unlimited prosperity available on the spiritual platform to those who have surrendered heart and soul to the mission of the Lord. King Nimi was himself a learned Vaishnava. and therefore he did not foolishly ask the sages about ordinary worldly affairs. He immediately inquired about adyantikam kshemam, the highest, most perfect goal of life. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the word anagaha, O sinless ones, has two meanings. Anagaha indicates that the 9 yogendras were themselves completely free of sins. It also indicates that merely by the great fortune of seeing them and hearing from them submissively, an ordinary sinful man could also be freed of his sins and achieve everything he desired. One might object that since the great sages had just arrived, the king should not have been so impatient as to inquire from them about the perfection of life. Perhaps the king should have waited until the sages themselves invited his inquiry. Such a hypothetical objection is answered by the words kshan ardo pi. Even a single moment's association with pure devotees, or even half a moment's association, is sufficient to give one the perfection of life. An ordinary person who is offered a great treasure will immediately desire to claim such a treasure. Similarly, King Nimi was thinking, why should I consider myself fortunate enough to have such great sages stay here for a long time? Because I am an ordinary person, undoubtedly you will soon be leaving. Therefore, let me immediately take advantage of your holy association. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in this world there are different varieties of mercy, but ordinary mercy cannot bring about the cessation of all unhappiness. In other words, there are many humanitarians, altruists, and social reformers who certainly work for the betterment of humanity. Such persons are universally considered merciful, but in spite of their mercy, humanity continues to suffer in the grip of birth, old age, disease, and death. I may distribute free food to the needy, but even after eating my merciful gift, the recipient will again become hungry, or he will suffer in some other way. In other words, by mere humanitarianism or altruism, people do not actually become free from unhappiness. Their unhappiness is merely postponed or altered. King Nimi was joyful upon seeing the Navayogendras because he knew that they were eternally perfect associates of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he thought, you are not prone to sinful activities like unfortunate mundane people such as me. Thus, the words you speak carry no deception or exploitation. The materially conditioned souls spend their days and nights discussing various topics of sense gratification. They never find time to hear about transcendental knowledge. But if even only briefly or accidentally they hear Harikatha, topics of Krishna, in the association of pure devotees of the Lord, their propensity to suffer in material existence will slacken. When one sees liberated persons, hears about Krishna from them, remembers their saintly behavior and so on, one's tendency to bind himself in the illusion of sense gratification is diminished, and he becomes eager to serve the Supreme Lord. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantekam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Hari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This is a very important sloka that's mentioned in other places also in the Shastras. For instance, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in two places this sloka is mentioned. One is when, in the Madhya Lila, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is having discussions with Ramananda Roy. Towards the end of the discussion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquires from Ramananda Roy, what is the highest benefit for the human being? And Ramananda Roy replies to him that the greatest benefit in human life is the association of pure devotees. And Srila Prabhupada quotes this sloka in the purport. Then again, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing the process of devotional service and the glories of devotional service to Srila Sanatana Goswami, he mentions this verse as a definition of pure devotional service, how one must take advantage of the association of pure devotees, first of all to get the seed of bhakti, and next to learn how to practice devotional service and attain the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Now, this same topic is discussed in practically every single canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam from the very beginning. The first canto, the sages headed by Sonaka Rishi, they mention that the only way one can make spiritual advancement, not by performing pious activities, by performing yagyas, by elevation to the heavenly planets, none of these things will help a person attain perfection. It's only by the association of the pure devotees that one can attain bhakti. Then again, in the third canto, Sri Kapila Dev, he describes the importance of association with the pure devotees. Then in the fifth canto also, when Jad Bharat is describing to King Rahugana about how one can attain the perfection of human life, he says that only by keeping the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotees on one's head can one attain the perfection of life. Prahlad Maharaj, when he's describing to his fellow students about the perfection of life and how he attained bhakti from his spiritual master Narada Muni, who is again speaking here, he reiterates the only way one can attain the perfection of life is by the association of the pure devotees. That's Prahlad Maharaj. Now we have in the 10th canto, Krishna himself, when he's trying to convince Nanda Maharaj not to perform the Indra Yagya, he says this kshemam, real prosperity, can be attained if you worship Govardhan Hill, which is the source of our prosperity. And he uses this same word. And again, what's the next one? I can't remember right now. The forest fire. After Kaliya was subdued and there was a great forest fire, Krishna told his cowherd boyfriends, you just close your eyes, don't worry, and I will protect you. So he used also this protection, he used as kshemam. So this word kshemam, it comes from the verb root kshi. Now kshi means a dwelling place, an abode, somewhere that is safe, especially a secluded place where one can reside. And from this verb root comes the noun kshemam. And kshemam all throughout the Bhagavatam, all throughout Srila Prabhupada's books, you have it translated, here it's translated as good. Atyantikam, the supreme good. It's protection, it's security, it's freedom from fear, it's attaining the mercy of the Lord. So that's why in this purport, specifically, two aspects are described. One is the mercy of the Lord, and the other is freedom from fear. Now, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he mentions the different types of mercy. Basically, there are two types of mercy. One is called kripa, one is called daya. Now, kripa is coming from the divine, from the Supreme Lord. Just like in our Hindi books, in English we say, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In Hindi we say, Sri Krishna Kripa Murti, the personification of the Supreme Lord's mercy. That's Srila Prabhupada. Krishna Kripa Murti. So Kripa comes from the divine. It's descending. Just as a pure devotee, just as the Navayogendras, they have, without invitation, they've come to the arena of Maharaj Nimi as he's performing yagya. Then we have daya. There are other types of kripa also. Kripa, the highest kripa, kripabdi, that's the ocean of mercy, that's the spiritual master, kripabdaye, ocean of mercy. And then ocean of mercy, why is he an ocean of mercy? Because he gives the holy name, because he gives transcendental knowledge. Then there's the mercy of prasad, just as in the name of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati that he was given at birth, Bimal Prasad, he was considered the mercy given by the consort of Sri Jagannath, Bimala Devi, Bimal Prasad. We have prasad that we take every day to help us build our spiritual bodies. That's also a type of yoga kshema. The Lord is providing for his devotees because in the Bhagavad Gita, yoga kshema is described in the most confidential knowledge, the chapter 9, verse 22, Ananyos chintayanto mam, ye jana paripashyati, te sham nitya pasyate, yoga kshema vaham yaham. All right, so what does this sloka mean? Ananyas chintayantomam, one who without deviation is always thinking of me. Then, ye jana paripasyate, he is always worshiping me. That person is always worshiping me. Then, satatam, no? Tesham nitya yuktanam, yuktabi yuktanam. Later, the Supreme Lord will say, Tesham satata yuktanam. Here he says, Tesham nitya abhi yuktanam. That means that he is always engaged in the service of the Lord. Now what happens? One who is always thinking of the Lord, one who is always worshiping the Lord, one who is always engaged in his service. What happens then? Krishna gives his assurance that yoga kshema vaham yaham. Yoga means to union or to yoke. Yoga means that which we already have, or that's which the Lord will provide for us. And kshema means to protect. Again, we have, in that sense, kshema means to protect. So that which the devotee requires, that devotee is always thinking of the Lord, worshiping the Lord, meditating on the Lord. The Supreme Lord personally promises that he will provide what the devotee requires and protect what the devotee has. Now, very early, we didn't have such a beautiful temple here in the very beginning, we didn't even have water. We had a well. If you go in the museum, now it's covered because the well dried up. It's where Vrinda Devi is. That well used to be there. And we would have to draw water, and there would be a bamboo with 2 buckets. And anytime we needed water, we would have to draw the water, fill up the buckets, and bring them to the only building that was here, which was Prabhupada's house. So one acharya, this was the Vrindavan that Srila Prabhupada lived in. There was no running water. There was practically no electricity. At Radha Damodar, we also had a well. We would draw water from the well for Srila Prabhupada's service. So when Srila Prabhupada went to America in 1965, and he had collected some students, by December 1966, Srila Prabhupada was reading from his Bhagavad Gita purports. And he was reading about this sloka, 922, Yoga Kshemam. And he was describing that there was one acharya. Now in this one lecture, it was December 1966, this acharya is given 3 different names by Prabhupada: Anandacharya, Arjunacharya, and Jamunacharya. You can listen to it 100 times, and each time you'll hear a different name of the acharya. So this acharya, when he was reading about the protection of the Lord, and he came to Yoga Kshema Vaham Yami, he said, why is the Lord going to take so much trouble for his devotee? He must do it through some agent. So he crossed out the words Vaham Yaham. And in his commentary, he wrote, he sends through an agent. And he went to take bath. As he was away from the house, 2 young boys came with the bamboo on their shoulders, just little boys, and bundles on each side. And they're so heavy for them. And they went to the mother of the home, the wife of the acharya, and they said, your husband has sent all of these things, these edibles for you, ghee and sugar and so many cooked foods. And he was so adamant that we bring these things that when we didn't want to bring them, he beat us. And they showed the dear mother the marks on their back where the acharya had beaten them. And she said, my husband has become so cruel. He has beaten these little boys, making them carry these heavy loads. And she was completely aghast. My husband is not such a cruel person. Why has he done such a thing? So she brought them in, she fed them so nicely, and then they went on their way. And then when the acharya came home, she was saying, how could you have beaten these beautiful little boys? They were carrying such heavy things on their shoulders. They said you beat them. He said, I never did such a thing. What are you talking about? She said, I saw the marks on their back, how you beat them. And then he understood. Who were those little boys? It was Krishna and Balaram. They had personally brought all the things that the acharya needed to his home. So the 2 were always going together. Without Krishna, you don't find Balaram. Always together. The whole Srimad Bhagavatam from the very start is the super excellent activities when the lords assume, they pretend to be human beings, Rama and Keshava. So here they were again. They were showing that acharya that they personally bring to the devotee whatever they require. Now here in this particular instance of Kshemam, Adyantika Kshemam, and here Nimi Maharaj, he's explaining that samsaresmin kshana ardopi satsanga seva dir ninam, that just to get not just 1 kshan, which is a moment, a second, but even half a second, that is enough, is the greatest Shevadir, the greatest treasure for the Nrinam, for the human beings. So we know from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sadhu Sang, Sarva Shastra Koi, Lava Matra Sadhu Sang, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. So what is a lava? A lava is 1/11 of a second. 1/11 of a second of the association of a pure devotee can give you all perfection. So at the same time that Maharaj Nimi is inquiring from the sages when they first arrive at his yajna, he is himself giving the answer to that question of what is the greatest treasure and what is the atyantikam shemam. What is the greatest protection? Protection from what? From fear. There are many different types of fear. Ahara, nidra, maitun, or abhay, bayam. So, bayatam, this fearfulness, even in the animals, they experience fear. It's instinctive fear when they have to protect themselves from impending death. So that's instinctive fear that we also have because we're also two-legged animals. But there are other types of fear as well. And the fears, after instinctive fear, comes a fear. Now, Janardhan Maharaj mentioned the word amnesia. Amnesia means when we forget who we actually are. So the next types of fear are caused by our forgetfulness of our relationship with the Supreme Lord. Now that forgetfulness, when we forget that we are servitors of the Supreme Lord, we start to act whimsically. And by the reactions of our whimsical behavior, we put ourselves into a fearful condition of action and reaction, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Another type of fearfulness that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta describes, which is a false type of fearfulness, he calls it false bhakti. He calls it an inferiority complex. He says that when you engage in bhakti out of fear of being tortured, fear of having to go to hell if you don't engage in bhakti, fear of punishment, if you don't finish your round, you're not going to get prasadam this morning, like that. That's a fearfulness that is not pure bhakti, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. That is not real bhakti. Real bhakti is when out of one's heart, out of love for the Supreme Lord. Now, how does one develop that love for the Supreme Lord? That comes by that shevadir, that treasure that is received from the association of the pure devotees. And that comes from 5 different types of knowledge. Now, those 5 different types of knowledge, Prabhupada describes them all throughout his books. We know the word aksha. Aksha has 2 different meanings. In the Sanskrit and derivative languages of Sanskrit, A is the first letter, A. And the last letter of the alphabet is ksha. So anything A, B, C, D, from A to ksha, mundane knowledge, is called aksha. The eyes are also called aksha. So the first type of knowledge that we can acquire is called pratyaksha. And that means just by sense perception. It's mundane. It's only dealing with what the eyes can see and the ABCD, within that much knowledge. After that comes a higher form of knowledge, that's paroksha. Paroksha means when we hear para, something else, ar. When we hear from someone else, when we hear from the authorities, that's a superior form of knowledge. And that comes from hearing from the pure devotees. Now, after hearing, there's aparoksha. Aparoksha means that what we have heard, we put into practical use, and we realize that this knowledge is correct. That's realized knowledge. After that comes adhokshaja, ksha-ja. It means it's born from the aksha, the same knowledge, But ada means when it's overcome. One overcomes this mundane knowledge by understanding through realization that Adhokshaja, the Supreme Lord, actually exists. So this is a form of transcendental knowledge, Adhokshaja. These first four types of knowledge are within the precincts of Vidhi Bhakti. We have to be practicing Vidhi Bhakti to get any information from the pure devotees, realization, and knowledge that the Supreme Lord exists. After that comes the fifth and the highest form of knowledge that's given by the pure devotees, and that's called aprakrita gyan. Aprakrita gyan is when the pure devotee enlightens a person about the nature of the Supreme Lord and about Goloka Vrindavan, the activities of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world. So that only, that aprakrita gyan, can be given by a pure devotee. All the other forms of knowledge can be received within Vaidhi Bhakti. But when one wants to understand the spiritual world coming from Vaidhi Bhakti, there must be Vaidhi Bhakti. Then when we come to Raganuga Bhakti or Raga Bhakti, that aprakrita gyan can only be given in the association of a pure devotee. We'll just give one little example. Oh, another type of mercy that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati describes is when the Supreme Lord is very merciful to the devotee. He gives him a form of separation to increase the devotee's love for him. Now that separation can appear to be like a punishment. We have all over in the 10th canto when the devotees are feeling intense separation from the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, he loves his devotees, but to increase their devotion, he disappears, and they're feeling intense separation from him. Within that separation, they're able to feel his presence. So this word, Shevadir, it means a treasure. Now, also, we know about Kuvera Maharaj. He's the treasurer of the demigods. And some of his treasures, they're called Shevadir. And because in the demigod life, there's opportunity for sense gratification, much higher than what we have. The two sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalu Kuvera, they took advantage of these Shevadir, the mundane Shevadir, and they were enjoying like anything in Kuvera's planet. They were swimming, this is described in the 10th canto, swimming with some beautiful damsels. They were themselves, they had completely forgotten themselves due to intoxication. And along comes Narada Muni. Now it's described in this purport that even unknowingly, if one associates with the pure devotee, they get benefit, even for a moment, unknowingly associating with the pure devotee. So that's what happened to Nala Kuvera and Manigriva. They weren't even aware that Narada Muni was present there. The girls understood and they covered themselves up. But the two boys were so intoxicated that they didn't even acknowledge the presence of Narada Muni. So Narada Muni, out of his special mercy to these two boys, he cursed them to become trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. And he explained that you will take birth, you have to live for thousands of years as trees because of your sinful behavior, but then you will attain liberation by being touched and getting the darshan of the Supreme Lord, Nanda Nandana. So later, when they did take birth as trees, Sri Krishna himself, he came, he broke down those trees, and Nalakuvera and Manigriva were liberated from their tree form. And within all of those thousands of years, they were able to understand the mercy of Narada Muni. They offered beautiful prayers to the Supreme Lord. They went back to the heavenly planets, but the story doesn't end there. Because of the mercy of Narada Muni, they were able to go back to the spiritual world. And there they became two little boys, two young boys. That was Marukanta and Snignakanta and Marukanta, two twin boys. And they got to glorify Krishna personally in the home of Nanda Maharaj every day, morning and evening. They got to have darshan of the Supreme Lord. Krishna himself took these boys to have darshan of Srimati Radharani. So what was it? They were debauchees, but they got just a moment's association with Narada Muni, and they were able to get the highest benefit of human life by that association. So we, in our conditioned life, at what stage are we in our knowledge? Pratyaksha, paroksha, hopefully, aparoksha, adhokshaja. And if we regularly hear the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, then we will come to that stage of aprakrita gyan. So we have to very carefully hear Srimad Bhagavatam. We have to understand these conversations, relate them to one another so that we can get the essence of knowledge from all of these teachings. And that essence is, Srila Prabhupada, he gives the essence because he sings one beautiful bhajan by Govinda Das. Bhaja hure mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Char Naravindare Durlava Manava Janama Satsange Taraha e Bhava Sindhore. Taraha e Bhava Sindhore. So originally, the question was being asked by Vasudeva to Narada Muni. He was lamenting, I did not ask for liberation. Please tell me of the supreme good for all living entities. And therefore, now, in this conversation, because Narada Muni then reverted back to this conversation of Maharaj Nimi and the Navayogendras, that the greatest benefit, the greatest protection, the greatest security, the greatest dwelling place for the human being is this sadhusang. Satsanga, Sheva Dirninam. So throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, throughout the Chaitanya Charitamrita, even in the Bhagavad Gita, because Yoga Kshema Vaham Yaham, Krishna, he will carry what we lacked, he will preserve what we have. Not out of fear do we worship him, out of knowledge, out of aprakrita gyan, understanding who the Supreme Lord is, where is his abode, what is our relationship with him. And in that full knowledge, we can get that taraha e bhava sindhore. We will be able to cross this ocean of the bhava sindhu. That means birth, death, disease, and old age. Prabhupada puts it very succinctly in the 10th chapter. There's a purport to verses 4 and 5. He said, fear is fear of the future. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, and therefore we are fearful. When we understand everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and see everything that happens to us in relation to the Supreme Lord, we no longer have any fear. A devotee is fearless. He's Abhay. Abhay Charnaravinda. That was Prabhupada's name. His childhood name was Abhay, and then his spiritual master, Abhay Charnaravinda. He gave that name. One who is fearless at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. That fearlessness comes only for a devotee because they know at the time of death where they're going. For everyone else, So many poems have been written about death. Shakespeare, he describes that death is that country from whence no traveler has ever returned. You go to a country, nobody ever comes back. Then another, Shelley, he describes that death is that worm at the core of every single delight that we have. Because whatever pleasures we have, there's a little worm in there reminding us it's all finished at the time of death. So that is death. Devotee doesn't fear death. Devotee sees that I know where I'm going. I have nothing to be afraid of. I've been worshiping the Lord. I've been chanting his glories, the holy names, and the greatest mercy is when you can give this knowledge to another living entity. That is real mercy. If we want to be merciful to others, we give this knowledge to others. So mercy, the kripa is coming from the Supreme Lord, and the jiva daya, that's our responsibility. We have to take this mercy in the form of the satsanga, and we have to give that to others. That is daya. We give prasad, that's also purification. You can go back to Godhead just by eating prasadam, Prabhupada assured us, if that's all you can do. But if you can give transcendental knowledge to others, so the devotees asked Prabhupada, well, Srila Prabhupada, how can we associate with you when you're not present? My books, you associate through my books. So this is how we get our satsanga, through Srila Prabhupada's books. And if we want to be a receptacle of the Krishna Kripa Murti, then we show compassion, daya, to the living entities by giving them this transcendental knowledge. We can speak to them for a few minutes, or better yet, we give them Srila Prabhupada's books, let them take that home, let them learn, let them apply that into their life, and let them come and associate with devotees in Prabhupada's temples. So this is a very important sloka. I'm very honored to be able to speak something from it. This kshan ardho, even half a moment's association with the pure devotee, can give one the perfection of life. We should take advantage of that by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, by chanting the holy name, by distributing prasadam, and by giving that mercy to all the living entities. Jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for wonderful class. In Prahlad Maharaj's case, he was in the womb of Kayadu.
Yes.
And he had indirect association of Narad Muni.
Yes.
So what knowledge he got in the womb itself, that
Yes.
knowledge comes under which category?
That
Knowledge
he was still associating with the Supreme Lord. Whether one might, there are different types of ignorance are described in the Bhagavad Gita.
Mm-hmm.
So even when one is in the womb, they're still conscious, though it's
Yes.
a lower conscious. So he was hearing at that time. And just by hearing at that time, he was able to get all transcendental knowledge. And he remembered it. His mother didn't remember it, but he remembered it. And therefore, he was able to carry on. And he felt protected all throughout, during the greatest tortures.
Yes.
He felt protected because of that transcendental knowledge.
This is Aprakrita Gyan?
Yes, Aprakrita Gyan, given directly by Narada Muni.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So, what is the meaning of these moments of association and the half of the moments of association with pure devotees?
Even a lover,
Yes.
1/11th of a second association can perfect your life. And we have that example. That's why I told the example of Nalukavera and Manigriva. They didn't even know that Narada Muni was there. And it appeared to be a punishment, a curse, but they got the highest benefit. They got to go back to Godhead just by that, by not even being aware of him being there. That's why we take this Rath Yatra out, because all these public processions, Sankirtan, so that the people, they're not even, they don't know that they're getting purified just by hearing the holy name, seeing the form of the Lord. So this is all that lava matra. All right.
What about in our practical life, if we want to apply this lava matra, this moments of association of a pure devotee?
We're drenched. That's why that sloka 922. We're worshiping, we're meditating, we're ananya. There's nothing else in our life, or there shouldn't be anything else in our life. But at the example, the reason I mentioned about the well and carrying the water, carrying water is heavy. And in the summertime, we need more water. So a lot of times in the summertime, you'll see that the devotees evaporate from Vrindavan. Suddenly they're not here. They feel that they have to go somewhere else. It's just too hot. But you'll notice that Krishna and Balaram, they never go anywhere. They're here. And the Ananya Bhaktas, they also stay with Krishna and Balaram and continue their service. So we have to apply that knowledge in our daily life and understand what does it mean to have uninterrupted devotional service. Not that, oh, it's too hot, let me go to the hills for a few weeks. When it's better, I'll cool. No, it's difficult. It's not an easy process. It's simple for the simple-minded, but we have to understand, who are we serving? Are they going anywhere because it's hot? No, they don't go anywhere. Now we have running water. It's a great facility. We didn't have running water before, and we still didn't go anywhere. So we have to apply this knowledge into our life. What does it mean to just serve the Supreme Lord? It means we put them first. We put their service first. And that's what living in Vrindavan should mean. Not that we run away when it gets difficult. It's too cold. It's too hot. It's like that. I need money. No, you don't need. Krishna will, he says, Vaham Yaham. He'll give you that money. Don't worry. He'll give you everything you need. But you do your side of the bargain. You worship him without deviation. And then he'll take care of you. It's a reciprocal relationship. And that we have to put to the test. How much are we doing? And then we see how much Krishna reciprocates with us. And that will come automatically as we surrender more and more in our life. And this is the best place to do that, Vrindavan. And it's so easy now. We have a temple, we have water, we have electricity. It wasn't so easy before. And that was the Vrindavan Prabhupada was coming from. He would discuss that, now I've come to America. I didn't come for sightseeing. He said, when I go to a place, like the devotees, sometimes the devotees say, well, I got a round-the-world ticket. I'm going to go see all the temples all over the world. So Prabhupada explains that when he goes to a place, he goes to enthuse the devotees. But the devotees take him to all the sightseeing places because they want him to see the places. Prabhupada's not interested. He's interested. He goes from place to place just to give the devotees his association. So wherever we are, we have two channels. One is to serve the Supreme Lord, and the other is to give our association so that we can give that daya, help the other living entities become devotees as well. Two ways. So apply that, and then you'll see Krishna reciprocate. We all know that Krishna is reciprocating. Every day, we don't have to go in the kitchen and cook for ourselves and offer. Everything's done. We just sit down, take prasadam, and go on with our service. Very simple life Krishna has given us. Very nice life. And that's that Vaham Yaham. He's giving to his devotees.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So, when everything in this material world is temporary, how can a moment of holy association, Shanortobi, moment of
Yes.
Shanortobi, will grant eternal and imperishable treasure like Sevadir?
Yes, you have to take advantage of that. And that means, just as we'll be learning, Maharaj Nimi, when you welcome a Vaishya, there are different expressions in Sanskrit. So for a Vaishya, you say, Kshemantu, how is your prosperity? When you welcome a saintly person, you ask them, how is your path of liberation? So Maharaj Nimi, when he saw the Navayogendras arriving in his yagya, he didn't waste a moment. He immediately asked him, what is the supreme good for all, the supreme benefit for all of human beings? So this is how we have to take advantage. If we get the association of a pure devotee, we have to take advantage of that association by inquiring, and then that paroksha and then aparoksha. We inquire, and then we put that knowledge into practical realization. And then we can understand the Supreme Lord's presence and his spiritual world. That's our job.
Our
Yes.
process.
We have to do that.
We have to do.
Yes, that's the Vaidhi Bhakti part. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna. By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we are getting the association of devotees in abundance, but we are not able to take full advantage of it. So, if you can point out what are the mistakes we make and what are the precautions we can take to maximize the benefit.
Well, in the first 4 stages of acquiring knowledge, Vaidhi Bhakti is very important. To follow the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti, that means, according to nectar devotion, avoiding the offenses, engaging in different types of service. And when your Vaidhi Bhakti becomes purified, when your existence becomes purified by Vaidhi Bhakti, then we can go on to higher stages of knowledge. So in the early stages of bhakti, Vaidhi Bhakti is very important for the early stages, because that purifies our existence, our physical, our mental, intellectual, so that we eventually realize that we are eternal servants of the Supreme Lord. And then we can start inquiring about the Lord, his service, his eternal realm. So concentrate on studying nectar devotion and all of the different principles of Vaidhi Bhakti, so that you can continue further into further stages of bhakti. All right? Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. My question is, I got answers of my questions without I'm asking by someone else questions answers.
Yes.
And I got all the benefits, what I wanted, without my personal labor. Means many facilities, physical material facilities,
Yes.
without much labor.
Right?
And suppose in Vrindavan Vas I got recently, and many other things, but still means Jagannath ji providing me everything without personal asking him, but still I'm not inclined in that service attitude.
You're not inclined in the service attitude?
Means he reciprocate what I wanted.
Okay.
I know that because I have experienced that this thing I wanted and I
Alright.
got it.
Okay.
This person I wanted, I got it with his association. And like many other things, means material things, prosperity like that. But still, Jagannath providing me everything by his side, but I am not, inclined to his service, means not coming service attitude to me.
Well, that's ingratitude. You know it's coming from Krishna. Now you should show your gratitude to him, that you've given me so much, now let me do something for you. That's within you. You have to develop that gratitude to Krishna. Okay? Mataji is
Okay,
trying.
okay,
That's
thank
okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you for your wonderful class as always. You mentioned about the feeling of separation. So you said that when Krishna is merciful to a devotee, then he bestows him with the feeling of separation.
Sometimes. Not
Sometimes.
always.
So I wanted to ask that how I understand that this is ahetuki kripa, that Krishna is just giving this. What, as a devotee, one may try to do to qualify to receive that ahetuki kripa of this feeling of separation? How does one become a recipient for that feeling of separation?
Well, this was a special benediction given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that's not understood in other sampradayas, that that feeling of separation is the highest. What's the word for separation in Sanskrit?
Vipralamba.
Vipralambha, yes. So that was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's special mercy in his sampradaya, teaching that Vipralambha. So if we study very carefully the Sikshastakam of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are books, one book particularly by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where he describes the gradual development through the 8 slokas, how one comes to the stage of that intense feeling of separation. So this one book is called Bhajan Rahasya. You can read that, and you can read how the different slokas, the 8 slokas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, bring one from faith, and then to attachment, then to ruchi, and then finally to bhava, and then to mahabhava. And in that mahabhava, you will come to that feeling of vipralamba bhav. Okay, so you can study that, and it also describes within those 8 slokas the different pastimes of the Lord throughout the day and night. So it's a very, very scientifically presented presentation of how one comes from just faith up to the highest stage of vipralamba bhav. Okay? It's simple, but you have to apply yourself and study. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,